entire life from inside the shadows. My family's vacation home in the Oregon woods was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where the nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. I was staying there alone for the weekend to finish my college thesis. By the second night, the isolation started to feel less like freedom and more like a trap. It began with the front door. I knew I had locked it before going upstairs, but at 1:00 a.m., I heard the distinct click of the deadbolt sliding open. I crept to the top of the stairs, my heart pounding. The door was wide open, swinging slowly in the freezing wind. I told myself the latch was just old. I locked it again, pushed a heavy chair in front of it, and went to bed. At 3:00 a.m., I woke up to a sound that made my blood turn to ice. It was a rhythmic tapping coming from the floorboards directly under my bed. Tap. 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 It was slow and deliberate, like someone was counting my heartbeats. I grabbed my phone and shined the light into the darkness of the room. Nothing. But then, I looked at the window. In the reflection of the glass, I saw the door to my bedroom, which I had closed and locked, standing slightly ajar. A single pale finger was hooked around the edge of the door, pulling it open inch by inch. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I bolted for the window, smashed the glass with my desk lamp, and jumped. I landed hard in the snow and ran for my car, not looking back until I was miles away. When the police searched the house the next morning, they found something that still haunts my dreams. Underneath my bed, the carpet had been sliced open. There was a hollow space in the floorboards where a man had been crouching for hours, waiting for me to fall into a deep sleep. They found a small notebook in the crawl space. The last entry was dated from the night before I arrived. It said, "She's coming back tomorrow. I've sharpened the tools. This time, I won't just watch." The man was never caught. The police found a trail of footprints leading into the deep woods, but they vanished at the edge of a frozen lake. To this day, I never sleep in a room without checking under the bed and the floorboards first. The old nursing home where I worked night shifts was a labyrinth of cold hallways and flickering lights. Most of the residents were peaceful, but room 302 held a woman named Mrs. Gable who never spoke. She just stared at the corner of her room, her eyes wide with a terror that never faded. One night, at exactly 3:12 a.m., I heard a sound over the baby monitor I used to keep an ear on her. It wasn't her voice. It was a man's voice, deep and gravelly, whispering, "Move over, you're taking up too much room." I ran to her room, thinking a relative or an intruder had broken in. The door was locked from the inside. I used my master key, my hands shaking. When I burst in, the room was empty. Mrs. Gable was huddled at the very edge of her bed, her body pressed against the cold metal railing, as if she were trying to make space for someone lying next to her. "Mrs. Gable, who were you talking to?" I whispered. She slowly turned her head. Her skin looked like gray parchment. She pointed a trembling finger to the empty spot on her bed and whispered her first words in years. "He says it's his turn to sleep on top tonight." I felt a sudden, heavy pressure on my own chest, like an invisible weight was crushing my lungs. I backed away, but as I reached for the door, I looked at the security mirror in the corner. In the reflection, I didn't see an empty bed. I saw a tall, shadowed figure with no face, lying directly on top of Mrs. Gable, his long, spindly fingers wrapped around her throat. I quit that job the next morning. A week later, I heard Mrs. Gable had passed away. The cause of death was listed as natural causes, but the nurse who found her said it looked like her chest had been completely crushed from the outside, as if someone or something had been sitting on her for hours. When they cleared out her room, they found hundreds of scratches on the underside of the bed frame. They weren't random. They were tally marks. One for every night she had survived the sleeper. After the funeral, I went back to the nursing home to collect my final paycheck. Out of curiosity, I looked at the logbook for room 302 from the 1970s, long before it was a nursing home. It turned out the building used to be a private residence. In 1974, a man had lived in that exact room. He was a chronic insomniac who became obsessed with the idea that he could only sleep if he was lying on someone else to feel their life force. He had eventually been found dead in that room, lying perfectly still on his bed, but his body was positioned as if he was hugging someone who wasn't there. As I closed the book, I felt a familiar, icy chill on the back of my neck. I hurried to my car, but when I looked in the rearview mirror, I noticed something that stopped my heart. On the back seat of my car, there was a deep indentation in the leather, as if someone or something was lying there, invisible, waiting to follow me home.